Warhammer Fantasy was my introduction into wargaming. Epic battles of humans and elves clashing with orcs and goblins. Household named heroes like Karl Franz, Grom the Paunch, Teclis, Deathmaster Snitch. As a young lad, I was enthralled. But it's been over 6 years since the demise of my favourite universe. But it's time. Time to bust open those old rulebooks filled with iconic black and white artwork. Time to blow off the cobwebs from the wallet and brave the wastelands of eBay looking for miniatures on those glorious square bases. It's time for the return of Warhammer Fantasy. The plan is to run this in the style of A Tale of Four Gamers. It's a series in White Dwarf during the late 90s, and the premise being that each month the four gamers would get a set amount of money to add to their force, which they'd build and paint. And again, as a young lad with no income of my own, I spent hours reading these articles as it gave hope in that one day, with careful planning and purchasing, that I could have my very own army. Now, the clues in the name, Tale of Four Gamers, obviously requires some extra participants, so I've fired up the gang. Some might say bullied. The main conspirator and brother-in-arms will be Russ from GFN Gaming, a great YouTube channel that specialises in kill team battle reports and round bases. However, we're probably all aware of the issues of starting a fantasy army. The game's been dead for over 6 years, so availability of minis is a mixed bag. Some lines got folded into AWS, and depending on the faction you choose, you might actually be able to source everything you need brand new, albeit on round bases. Or you could be of luck. This then leads you down into the wilds of eBay, the land of the scalpers. Many thought Durkal the Eye Gouger was a Black Orc, but they're wrong. His name was Barry the Eye Gouger, and he lived in Scunthorpe, and he'll try and take you for all you're worth. Buying on eBay requires some patient sniping, some shrewd searches, and sometimes just straight up ponying up the cash. The monthly budget of £25 isn't going to cut it these days, so the plan is that each month we have to purchase, build and paint 500 points of our given army, with battles interspersed to help us get back into the game. So I've spent the last few weeks searching eBay, trying to follow my own advice, but mostly just going wild and spending a small fortune. Empire isn't too bad in terms of available models. A lot of the core choices are there, as well as some of the more exotic, but some of the key stables, the characters, things like knights and cannons aren't so readily available. So this with infantry and is where I focus my initial searches. Last note, before I take you through my starting 500 points, we're playing Warhammer Fantasy Battles 6th edition from 2000. It's considered by many to be the most balanced edition of the game, but I also wanted to avoid the bloat of the hordes that prevailed in 8th. None of my group would have been interested with being told they need to paint huge blocks of figures at a time, unless you're Russ and you've chosen a horde army like Skaven, but then that's your own doing. So here's my first 500 points of Empire. Forces under 2,000 points can take up to 3 heroes and must take at least 2 core choices. So in my hero slot, I've chosen an Empire captain, and because the model is on a horse, well, I've given him a horse for an additional 10 points. For my core choices, a unit of 20 halberdiers. I've taken the upgrades to take full command, i.e. the sergeant, the standard bearer, the musician. These all give me various buffs in combat and tests, so they're worthwhile. My second unit is a Knight of the Knightly Orders. I took 7 plus the full command, which is a bit excessive at this level, but we'll need them going forward. And in fact, I'll probably paint up 8 knights, as this is the usual configuration. Lastly, a selection from my special units, a Great Cannon. With no pre-measuring in 6th, the Great Cannons don't quite have the same sniping capabilities of their 8th edition version, but a cool model, and it'll be a nice break from all the infantry and horses. So there we have it, my first 500-ish points of Empire. I'm fairly pleased with the selection that I've got. The knights are a little bit expensive, but I'm unlikely to play a battle at 500 points. I'll have next month at least 2 to add to it. So Russ and I have got a month to get this all built and painted, and we'll return next month to showcase what we've done and our selection for the next month. So post your thoughts and comments below. I'd love to hear from you if you have any stories about times you played Warhammer, or if you haven't played Warhammer, what do you think of it? Does it still have any place in today's world? Are you excited about Oldhammer? Also, I'd love to hear any thoughts or suggestions about what my list could contain, any things I've missed off, or anything that I should specifically look out for. But anyway, that's it for now, guys. Catch you in the next one. Ta-ra.